We are now less than 24 hours away from a full Sunday of NFL football to get week 4 fantasy football rolling at full speed right now. So we did the running backs earlier today. Now we need to go through every matchup to see who the must start and sit wide receivers are for week 4 fantasy football. And we just hit 5,000 subscribers yesterday, guys. Thank you from the bottom of my heart to every one of you guys as being a great audience. We're building a community here, and that's why we're giving away another FFN white hat. Go down in the comments, comment your boldest take for week 4 fantasy football for a chance to win this hat. We're giving away 5 of these hats this week, and help me get to 6,000 subscribers by liking the video and subscribing to the channel to show your support. All right, let's go ahead and just dive right into these matchups, shall we? So the first matchup up is the Falcons at Jaguars here. Now, what you'll notice with my start and flex territory categories is if you watch my rankings videos earlier this week on wide receivers, you'll notice that the guys in these rank categories are ranked in order from my rankings. So Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, they're both start guys for me. They're both in situations where you don't exactly know which one of them is going to lead each week. Christian Kirk has done it the past 2 weeks. Calvin Ridley was the first one to do it. But the reality with Calvin Ridley is it's not like he's been irrelevant in this offense. He's still the leading target getter in this offense. Christian Kirk has just had a couple big games. Well, there's no Zay Jones in this game, so those are going to be the primary 2 receivers, and the Falcons defense can be taken advantage of. They're not as good as I once thought they were. So they both belong in start category to me. Now, Drake London, you can flex him. He's a middle tier guy for me, though. Every single week, we're going to be dealing with a problem with Drake London. There's always a volume issue, and you never know when he's going to get volume. Week 2, he had a good week. He actually got some volume that week. Week 3, he went right back to basically where he was last year. So there's going to be a consistent problem here with Drake London. I really don't see myself putting him inside must-start category at any time this year. And then you go ahead, you sit everybody else. If you have Matt Collins, you go ahead and sit him. And by the way, guys, this is the early game on Sunday morning, so make sure to set your lineups tonight. I'm filming this on Saturday afternoon. Make sure to get your lineups fixed before the game tomorrow. It will likely be happening before you are awake. So the Rams at Colts is our next matchup of the week. And listen, I've been all over Michael Pittman lately. I think he's a must-start guy in fantasy football right now. Michael Pittman in this Indianapolis Colts offense on a contract year, he's going to have his best year, and it's already happening. Michael Pittman has been a stud in fantasy football so far, especially at the value you got him. You need to continue to play him. He's clearly the wide receiver 1. He's getting Anthony Richardson back. This is a matchup that can be taken advantage of. I love Michael Pittman here. Puka Nacua, you could still start him as well. He's coming back down to earth a little bit based off of last week, but he's still their target hog guy. He's still dominating in targets right now, so you can't put Puka Nacua on your bench even after a subpar week. Tutu Atwell and Josh Downs are actually flexible. Tutu Atwell, wide receiver 12 in fantasy football right now. You can't overlook Tutu Atwell right now. The dude is killing it. He's killing it right now in fantasy football. So yeah, I would absolutely start him. It's going to change once Cooper Kupp gets back, likely. But right now, there's a time we got to take advantage of here. Josh Downs is flexible in deeper full PPR leagues. My problem with Josh Downs is he is basically what I now analyzed him as in my 2023 Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide, which is basically a Hunter Renfrow. He's not that fast. He's not a burner. He's not going to beat you over the top. Where he'll make his money is if he gets targets underneath. He'll average like 7-8 targets a game, gets you like 40 or 50 yards. So in a deeper full PPR league, I can understand flexing here. Alec Pierce is irrelevant to me. I would not consider starting him. Same thing with everybody else in the matchup. Ravens at Browns, next matchup here. You're definitely starting Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper is must start every single week. No Nick Chubb, great week without Nick Chubb last week. Amari Cooper, honestly, I love Amari Cooper right now. Like he's definitely a low end to high end wide receiver 2. Low end wide receiver 1, high end wide receiver 2. Amari Cooper does not belong in your bench. And same thing with Zay Flowers this week. Zay Flowers is a must start guy. He is dealing with a Ravens offense that has no good running backs, and they're now missing Rashad Bateman, and they're now missing Odell Beckham as well. So Zay Flowers is one of 2 main targets in this offense already. Now he's basically going to dominate target share this week. So you need to put Zay Flowers in your lineup this week, I think. Elijah Moore's flexible. He's getting volume equivalent to Amari Cooper basically right now. Just no big plays. He's similar to Josh Downs where he's going to be a target hog. Devin Duvernay, I put him on here because we know Devin Duvernay has had big games in the past. This is a super deep shot. If you have no options and you're swinging for the fences because you're expected to lose by a lot this week, this is a move I would make. And then obviously you can't play Odell and you can't play Rashad Bateman, and anybody else in this matchup, you can't play either. Vikings at Panthers is the next matchup here. We've got Justin Jefferson. Obviously, what's there to talk about? Let's move on. Adam Thielen, Jordan Addison are both flexible. I would consider Adam Thielen a relatively high-end flex option. He's someone I've risen on over the past couple of days. The dude's dominating target share over in Carolina, and he's actually had some pretty good games, specifically last week with Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton's the quarterback yet again this week versus the Vikings. So I think Adam Thielen is very flexible this week. Jordan Addison continues to be flexible. Going to be reliant on a lot of big plays, but that's a lot of what Jordan Addison's going to get right now. Like, his target share is nothing great, but he's going to continue to get work, and he's going to continue to make big plays because he's a very good player. DJ Chark, I wouldn't start him yet. I called him a waiver wire pickup this week. Wouldn't start him yet. Jonathan Mingo, KJ Osborne wouldn't start either of them either. Bengals at Titans, next matchup here. I've got Jamar Chase and I've got T. Higgins as must starts. What else is there to talk about, really? I mean, they're both such high upside players. Jamar Chase had the bounce back week last week. You never put Jamar Chase on your bench anyways. And T. Higgins coming off a bad week. Listen, I get it. This is kind of T. Higgins' nature. But again, look at what he did in week 2. You don't want that production that he gave you in week 2 on your bench. 2 touchdown week. That's always possible for T. Higgins, especially against a Titans defensive secondary that is one of the worst in the entire league. You can't sit Bengals wide receivers. DeAndre Hopkins, Tyler Boyd, they're flexible. DeAndre Hopkins, obviously he's the wide receiver 1, and Treylon Burks is out for this game. He's already been ruled out. So he's already going to dominate target share, but especially now without Treylon Burks, he's definitely going to be dominating in target share. Tyler Boyd, honestly, most weeks he will be in flex territory simply because he's going to continue to get volume. And if you're in a deeper league, a full PPR league, Tyler Boyd does have some value here, and he's a worthy shot week to week. And you go ahead, you sit everybody else. Buccaneers at Saints is the next matchup. Listen, I was lower on both Olave and Mike Evans in this matchup here, and I got a lot of flack for it. I still start Chris Olave. You don't bench Chris Olave or even think about benching him unless you're just so stacked. But Chris Olave belongs in lineups every single week. I don't care if he has Derek Carr or not, which, by the way, probably not going to have Derek Carr. He's listed as questionable, but from what I've seen, it doesn't look like he's going to go. So expect Jameis Winston here, but Jameis can put up points. So I would never sit Chris Olave regardless. Mike Evans is not must start for me. I explained it earlier in the week, and I took a lot of flack for it. Mike Evans' kryptonite in this game is Marshawn Lattimore, and he's playing Marshawn Lattimore this week. That's the problem with Mike Evans here. I think he's still flexible. I think he's very capable of a big play, but there's no guarantee here with a guy who has shut him down for the better part of half a decade. I don't think he's a must start. Chris Godwin, I think I'd rather have Mike Evans start than him, but Chris Godwin's flexible just because of targets, and then Michael Thomas is flexible because of volume as well. I'll go ahead and sit Rashid Shaheed in this matchup. I just think that Jameis Winston can't support all 3 of them. Dolphins and Bills, the fantasy football matchup of the week. Points will be flying in this matchup. You start the main 3 wide receivers. Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Jalen Waddle. Tyreek Hill, no-brain start. Stephon Diggs, no-brainer too. Jalen Waddle, understanding that a lot of people have been down on him this year, and he's had a little bit of a down start, but he's back in the lineup this week. This is a high-flying matchup, and all Jalen Waddle needs is one big play to make you really happy. That's what Jalen Waddle needs, and he's super capable of doing that. It just hasn't resulted in an end zone visit yet. It will, trust me. Gabe Davis is very flexible. For moving forward, he will be a very flexible guy. Just understand, Gabe Davis's nature is completely boom or bust. But this is the type of game you want Gabe Davis in because the points will be everywhere. And then nobody else really in this matchup to note, but you go ahead and you sit everybody else. Broncos at Bears, next matchup here. Nobody's a must start for me. Neither of these offenses are simply good enough for me to consider must start. Now, you've got several high-end flex options. I think Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton, they're relatively decent flex options here. Courtland Sutton has been dominating in volume, but Jerry Jeudy's starting to find a groove, and he had a pretty good week last week. So I expect them to do well against a terrible Bears defense, but they're not must starts. They're good flex options. DJ Moore, simply because he's the best offensive weapon, will continue to be in flex territory. If you're really desperate, DJ Moore can be flexed. I'll continue to sit Marvin Mims. I could understand if, like I said, with someone like Devin Duvernay, if you want to take a shot on Devin Duvernay, you could definitely take a shot on Marvin Mims. I just wouldn't recommend it, and that's why he's in the sit category, and then everybody else as well. Commanders at Eagles. This one, obviously, you start both Eagles wide receivers. AJ Brown, I don't hear his name much this week because he had the rebound week. Had a lot of questions about him after week 2. Dude rebounded, played a great game. AJ Brown's going to be fine. And then Devonta Smith had a bad week. He's going to be fine too. Terry McLaurin's flexible. I would not consider him a high-end flex guy though. The Commanders' offense just isn't good. Their passing game is awful. So none of these wide receivers have high upside, but Terry McLaurin does have big playability attached to him. Jahan Dotson, hurts me to say, you can't start Jahan Dotson right now, and everybody else in this matchup is irrelevant. Steelers at Texans. This one, nobody's a must start again. Neither of these passing offenses are high-flying enough. While I do acknowledge that all of these guys, I consider high-end flex options. Nico Collins, George Pickens, Tank Dell, don't make too much of the order here. They're all in order of my rankings, but they're all in the same tier for me. They're all high upside flex options this week. Nico Collins, bad week last week, but he's still the leading target getter in the offense. And then Tank Dell, great option as well. Dude's red hot right now, works well with CJ Stroud, and they're both going up against a really bad Pittsburgh secondary. So they're going to be fine. High upside guys. George Pickens continues to be a high upside flex start because he's such a tremendous player. And without Deontay Johnson, he's seeing about 10 targets per game. And all he needs is a couple of catches and he could break one off. So they're all high-end flex options, and then nobody else is relevant in this matchup. Raiders at Chargers is the next matchup here. Keenan Allen, Devontae Adams, no-brainers, right? Even if Devontae Adams does not have Jimmy Garoppolo, who really cares that much? I mean, if we're like the big problem with Devontae Adams over the offseason was, what's he going to do with the downgrade with Jimmy Garoppolo? What's that going to do to his fantasy value? Well, it turns out not much, because Devontae Adams is still great, and he dominates the team in target share. So yeah, Devontae Adams is a no-brainer. I don't care who the quarterback is. Keenan Allen obviously is a no-brainer because he's been doing fantastic this year, and he's going up against a defense that sucks, and Mike Williams is out. So there's no-brainers on both fronts in these start guys. Jacoby Myers, even if Jimmy Garoppolo misses, I'd put him above Josh Palmer and Quentin Johnston. He's been a better player than both those guys this year. I don't see what's wrong with going with Jacoby Myers as a flex option this week. Dude's been very good in fantasy football when he's played. In 2 weeks, he's been tremendous in fantasy football. Josh Palmer and Quentin Johnston become flexible now, though, because of no Mike Evans. I prefer Palmer over Johnston because Johnston, we haven't even seen much from this year. The dude hasn't done much at all. I do think he will be more important to the offense now moving forward without Mike Williams, but I'm not ready to tell you guys, yeah, go ahead and play Quentin Johnston with full confidence because we haven't seen enough yet. I need to see what he does this week. Everybody else is irrelevant in the matchup. Cardinals at 49ers. Deebo Samuel, if he plays, I think he's a better option than Brandon Ayuk. And that's no slight to Brandon Ayuk because I think he's a great option as well. Deebo Samuel's looking like 2021 Deebo again. The problem is, what I've seen a lot in comments is that Brandon Ayuk is a better wide receiver than Deebo Samuel. And you know what? I would agree. As far as traditional wide receiving capabilities go, I would agree with this. But Deebo Samuel in fantasy football, when he's on, is tremendous because the guy is he's such a beast after the catch, and they also run him as well. So he's got multiple ways of getting the ball, and he's so good after the catch. Obviously, he's questionable. If he doesn't play, you don't play him. But if he does play, I'm very confident with Deebo Samuel right now. Brandon Ayuk, same boat applies. Dude's really, really good in a high-octane offense. Very important piece in it. You don't sit Brandon Ayuk. Marquise Brown is flexible. Higher-end flex guy if he's healthy and he plays. He's questionable as well, so he may not go with a thumb injury. We'll have to see. But if he does play, I'm confident telling you guys you can absolutely flex Marquise Brown. Everybody else is irrelevant. Patriots at Cowboys here. CeeDee Lamb's a must start. He continues to be a must start here. There's just no question when it comes to CeeDee Lamb. I've got no reservations about this. I called him a buy low guy earlier this week. And I think that, honestly, I've said this all week as well. Bill Belichick is known for taking out your number one option. I believe he thinks the number one threat is Tony Pollard. He wants to make Dak Prescott throw the ball. I think that opens up a lot for CeeDee Lamb. I get it. Christian Gonzalez is on him, but it's not enough for me to deter playing an elite wide receiver in the NFL. Kendrick Bourne, Brandon Cooks, they're flexible. Very low tier options. Kendrick Bourne, volume guy, but Patriots offense is just not very good. And then Brandon Cooks, you could play him if you wanted to, if you're desperate, but I don't really have a ton of interest in that. Juju Smith-Schuster, you sit him, and then along with everybody else. Chiefs at Jets. Nobody's a starter. This applies to the Chiefs every single week. When the Chiefs are playing, you will see a long list of flexible guys because none of them stand out from each other, and all of them are capable of having a big game. Garrett Wilson's my favorite because we know the volume will be there, and we know he's the best out of all of them. I don't consider any of these guys high-end flex starts, though. Justin Watson, Sky Moore, Rashee Rice, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, those are all in the order of target importance in this offense and efficiency as well. All those guys are in order because Justin Watson's been the best. Rashee Rice and Sky Moore are interesting, but again, none of these guys I'm ever confident telling you guys it's a start. Kadarius Toney, I literally have no use for the guy. And I will not tell my audience to start Kadarius Toney because I just don't think he's a very good football player. They're trying to make him relevant, and it's not working. That's the reality here. So did everybody else. Seahawks at Giants, the Monday night game to round it out here. DK Metcalf is a clear star guy, and so is Tyler Lockett. They're both capable. They're both boom or bust, but you don't want to have them on your bench when they boom because their booms are huge. The Giants defense sucks. I think they can take advantage of this matchup for sure. Jackson Smith-Njigba, one of these days, will have a big game. He is third on the Seahawks in targets through 3 weeks, but one of these days, he will have a big game. Mark my words. I am still a believer in Jackson Smith-Njigba in the long term, and I think one of these weeks, he'll have a boom game. I think he's always going to be flexible. Not a higher upside guy, not a high flex guy, but he is in the middle to lower tier flex options here. I don't care. You sit all Giants wide receivers. Darius Slayton is the leading wide receiver in the offense, but he's not efficient. He doesn't average many yards per reception. Jalen Hyatt's been a nothing burger. Paris Campbell's not good. Isaiah Hodgins is getting targeted. The Giants wide receiver room is a mess. I could never tell you guys to confidently start the Giants wide receivers with what we have seen so far. So let me know what matchup questions you need answered before week 4 fantasy football, and I will try to answer as many matchup questions as I possibly can. And if you want to see the running back must start and sits for week 4, click on this video right here.